I'm Stan Palma, and I'm sitting in a car of my own design. I'm retired now, but I retired from being an architect, and this car, which is really kind of the culmination of all the things that I've wanted to do with the car, is a custom design. It started out as a 2x6 steel tubing and grew from there. I've used some parts from other cars, but mostly it's all original design. It's straight 8 Packard engine. I've put a supercharger on. For me, this is going to be a low, sleek car, and that would be my hope, that someone might mistake it for a custom car design from the 30s. To me, a successful car design is a beautiful sculpture. I kind of designed the car around some Packard parts because, again, my dad was a Packard dealer in Paris, Illinois. I hope to be able to drive it in a couple years, and I think my wife will hopefully enjoy it as much as I do. The ultimate, I think, statement, it would be to actually try to put it together a car yourself, and that's what I've tried to do here with the help of D&D Classic Company, that very soon after it got started took one of their very first restorations to Pebble Beach, won its class, and that is like a rookie coming up from single A ball and getting thrown into the World Series, and he hits a pinch hit home run. That would be about the equivalent. There are many, many, many shops who have competed at Pebble Beach and have never won in class. They build wonderful cars, but they just were never judged best in class. So I found that to be interesting.
Making a wooden buck like we did on the Indy Packard, probably work towards something like this kind of station buck after we've done the wireframe. Last meeting with a customer, when he came, he wanted to see this front fender more of a pontoon in itself and an airfoil type shape built in here. And to give you an update, what I ended up doing is raising the height of this fender here. That's what this 1.5-inch block is. This gives us now 5.5 inches instead of the 4 inches. But we've gone through a few design ideas in this particular area, from the fender to the actual hood or to the radiator right in here. This was kind of the Bugatti look, where this surface came on out, wrapped around, created this type of kind of a funnel that would be between the two of them. Take this off, and then we had this profile right in here, actually start off with a large radius and blend in here to the center. One of the things that Stan wanted to see is this type of radius right here in the front, instead of coming down to a thin piece, which is what we have now. This is the beauty of wireframe. You can do the different variations of it much further down, and it has this large to small radius right in here. And at this particular point, it was at a horizontal level, and then this line drops down further here. Stan would like to see this particular arch, which is this lower line right up in here that I just showed, and then it comes on up, and that's where we're going to have to look at how this curvature comes up and then blends down into here. Part of the other discussions that we're doing is this body sculpture line, which is how we're going to make the transition down the door and in this particular area to the back of the body. The center of the car, we're in a reasonable position as far as the roof height right in here. We raised the cowl, like I said, another 1.5 inches. So we're starting to solidify that. But I think the biggest part is trying to figure out this design detail. Like we've got here to the front, we're going to start off small and go large towards the back. I think that will be a defining detail in the car. Consideration is the rear window shape, how these shapes come together, how it ties into the back of the car, how it ties into the rear teardrop pontoon rear fenders. These fenders will not have a straight spine on it, will have a curve built into it, and I'll probably end up having to make that in a wireframe as part of that whole process. So he's trying to mimic, and which is what I'm trying to take here, is this flat, the similar look of the front grill shell. But now you can kind of get an idea. Now, if you compare this model, I've changed, I have that basic flat shape, but you'll be able to see even that has a little bit of a taper, taper on that back end, where it's actually more of a V instead of the flat area. So this is another way of being able to visualize what it may look like. Once we kind of have a rough idea, then we will go eventually to a full wooden buck, but not until we've done all these variations and iterations. It just gets more expensive to keep making the design changes further down the way. And what's great about the project is I'm able to show the computer models, the photos, and now we're at a stage, and this is one of the differences between working on computer versus on the physical car, is that you have a much better feel as to what the scale and dimensions are when you're actually standing around it, looking at it in all different directions. I mean, you can get the interpretations on the computer and the software and all that type of stuff, but just volumes and being able to sit in it, looking at it at full size. And that's what's great about this wireframe type technique. We can do all kind of CAD models, but then when you actually go to look at it in full 3D, here's another opportunity in the wireframe to kind of discuss those shapes before we commit to something.
The concave that we have right in through here, take this area and basically translate it right to there.
Right to the back, yeah. Right. Right now, I need to square up the cow because it's loose, it's leaning over to one side. I do need to get it structurally held up in the center line. We'll probably start using the coordinate measuring system because I'm measuring from the top side. Problems that we're going to have to try to solve with the curved door that he's basically got designed there. We've got the clearance between how far up this B post needs to be, and then the geometry of being able to open and close it. Do we have big gooseneck type hinges in here? Or do we do something like the Dubonnet where we've got the post in here and do parallel hinges and run it back? Or we do something really crazy like a Lamborghini that all pivots here, you pop out and rotate. That's all stuff to kind of look at and talk about the possibilities. Take that little bit of bubble on out so that we can create that highlight right on over here, and then we can do that. And as you say, yes, I do have this sharp corner that brings it out to here. You bring it in, that'll create a little bit more area to actually work the leading edge of it. Yes, I will go ahead and do a version of where it wraps around right in here and then fades out to the center. And we can take a look at that too. But my thought is this is the beginning here, whereas the belt line molding is finishing right here. Mm-hmm. So where this one fades off, this one picks up. Here's even the issue right now. You can see that the door, with the door edge opening, even with a simple thing like this, is into the fender. Yeah. Hinge point with this particular setup. But what I was talking about with the Dubonnet is running a post up right up here that actually has the pivots. We're going to have a pivot up towards here and here. The problem with the parallel hinge is how deep that we have to have the parallel hinges stuck into the door, and how much clearance potentially if we want roll-up windows. The difference on the Dubonnet is that they actually had tip-out windows. You couldn't go to the drive-through and actually use it. Oh. Now, in the James Young on the Phantom 1 Rolls-Royce, the door was thicker, and they were actually able to run the window up and down between the hinges, because you had the hinges that actually came and pivoted. You had a pivot here and a pivot here, and that would swing you out. And that, the challenge would be how narrow we have here, how narrow, and being able to get the glass in behind those hinges. Mm-hmm. So from a mechanical point of view, and getting that all to work would be another thing that we need to kind of work on. Okay. Okay, what we have here is a side profile drawing that Stan Palma sent us last week. It's a side view right here, and what I am doing is taking his drawings and turning them into a 3D model. Now this windshield was actually, the dimensions were taken off of our coordinate measuring system. The actual wheels drawn in, we actually have the center line of the axles. We also have a top view drawing, which we have here, and that is also a drawing that our customer gave us. Some of the proportions are a little bit off. We're concentrating now on the back end of the car. You can kind of see how this particular shape's been made in this particular version. And then we go through the building of a digital body. We have, that's what the top view is. That's what gives us our basic shape, but when you superimpose the new body onto it, that's where you may make some changes there. Now you can see where the fenders kind of match the tail. I did put in a rear window, and then you can see the little bit of change here on this tail, and then I'm able to work this kind of design detail from very narrow to very wide, which mimics the Packard radiator shell on the front. You can see here's his clay model right in here, the shape of the tail, the shape of the fender, and now you can see the digital version of it. And that's how we go through the process of communicating, and we'll keep refining the surfaces, keep refining the measurements, going back and forth between wireform, drawings, clay models, and digital models. And then eventually we'll work towards taking the final digital model and cutting it up into profiles, which we'll make into wooden station bucks.